So yeah, thank you so much for your time again. I very much appreciate that we finally made the conversation happen, considering all the technical difficulties, which also happen now as well. But I guess we can't escape that. But I've been honestly so excited to talk with you because I've been such a big admirer of what you do with your music and with your career in general. Because for me, in all fairness, you've been very different from all the music acts that are making this sort of oversaturated market at the moment. Because with you, I always felt that rather than just creating music and just providing some sort of material in a conventional way, you more or less provide an overall experience where it doesn't feel like you're just putting some sort of essence and some sort of essence or messaging on music just for the sake of it. But to me, it always felt more like you have this sort of creativity and ideas in your head, and it just happens that through music, you're able to express it in the most accurate way, if this makes sense.
No, it totally does. So thank you for all those kind words, Risto.
Of
Yeah,
course.
really, really appreciate that. And you're right. In today's age, there are so many bands out there that are perhaps doing the same thing or mailing it in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they just, okay, it's verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, song done.
Mm-hmm.
But with nothing more, it's really important for us to take our time, especially with this past record, because of the pandemic and everything. We really ended up going down some rabbit holes,
Mm-hmm.
artistically, instrumentally, and yeah, philosophically for sure too. So I'm really happy with everything that came out, and it seems like the response has kind of been resounding, everything you're saying. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really awesome. That's definitely the goal. We want to make stuff that's different and honestly is all killer, no
Yeah.
filler. I
Yeah.
hate it when bands have, tracks that you just skip and it's like, oh, this wasn't very good.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I'm just curious to hear your thoughts in terms of whether your way of creating music and generating this product that we've been discussing has been a result of deliberate effort, or is it just your own approach to creating music? Do you when the process of creating music starts, do you think about making something different? Do you mean about create something that is very significant in terms of essence, or is it just your natural way of expressing yourself?
I'd honestly say it's a bit of both. That's a good question.
Thank you.
The songs and bands that move us are those outliers.
Mm-hmm.
The perhaps the songs that are 7 minutes long, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe the bands that are a little left of center. And it's interesting, the songs that stand the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
The legendary great ones. Stairway to Heaven and Hotel California and Bohemian Rhapsody, all of
Yeah.
those songs, just immediately thinking off the top of my head, all of those songs are like 7 minutes long, and they all
Mm-hmm.
have personality, character, and a unique quality to them. So a lot of the times, those are the songs that move us and want us to, man, we want to write a song like that. We
Mm-hmm.
want to have nothing more stand the test of time. Granted, a song just doesn't start that way. A lot of the times, if you can kind of hear where it's going to go. There are decisions we make along the way that it's like, I feel like this song needs to have, we don't need to go right back to the chorus right here, or let's explore what we're doing right now. And honestly, it's like we keep kind of like trying to like go in and then take a step back and then kind of like feel, okay, how is the ride of the song? Is this
Mm-hmm.
what the song wants us to do?
Yeah.
And when we all feel yes, we give it the thumbs up, this ride is what we wanted it to be, then
Mm-hmm.
the song's done, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
It,
um And sometimes it's a quick banger, and sometimes those songs are awesome. You know, the 2 minute 30 songs. I'm not saying every song has to be a Tool song and 10 minutes long.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. And you know, I must say that when it comes to new music from you guys, you're one of the very few bands that I'm genuinely interested to see what sort of new approach you would come in terms of adding a missive to your music. What would be the new theme that you will be covering with your songs? That is an aspect that really excites me when it comes to you, because it's not just about music. I'm generally emotionally invested to see what you think and what you want to express. And I'm curious now, be very glad if you can, just provide me with some details in terms of how the idea behind Spirits started, establishing inside your heads after, your previous album. What was the thing that, created the initial concept behind it?
Sure. No, that's a great question. And we do approach the lyrics and the all that content in a similar fashion. Dan, Johnny, and myself do write together. Most of the time it will start from one person, and then kind of from there we'll take a deeper introspective dive and really ask ourselves, all right, is that what we want to say? Is this solid? Is this a great idea and a point? And does it stand on its own outside of the music? That's really important to us. But getting started with this album, the song Spirits actually was probably the first song that actually gave all of these demos kind of new life, or really like, okay, this is kind of what we want the album to sound like. We want it deeper, darker, and I don't know, more of a journey. So that song was approached, I had never played 8-string guitar before. And so it was actually the first song I wrote on an 8-string, which is kind of fun. But just that intro and the riff and everything. And from there, Johnny sat with it for a little while, and just kind of the word spirits came to him, and he dove down that rabbit hole, explored it, and kind of talked to us about kind of the duality of things in regards to like a little bit heavenly and a little bit sick. Like, what are those things that are kind of, we have to accept that it's both angelic and evil. And kind of the irony of that situation. Like, we as people, like humans, a lot of the times we want to deny our not demonic, but our animalistic side.
Yes.
Or we want to, say, I'm not an angel at all. And it's like, but to be human is actually to be all of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we really have to accept all that. So I think that was a big theme of the Spirits album, in regards to, sometimes you're this spirit, and sometimes you're this, and that's okay. You aren't just this one thing all of the time. As you go throughout your day and go throughout your life in different places, you watch yourself change, and your dynamic, your color shift, as it, creates a different color with a different person. And I think that's a big thing. A lot of us are really hell-bent on labels and titles to say that it's like, we're only this type of person, or I'm on the left side of politics or the right side of politics. And I think that's missing the point. I know I went down a tangent there, but I hope I kind of provided some insight for a big theme of the album, at least.
No, I'm definitely glad that you did, because I've read and I've listened to quite a few of your interviews just explaining this concept, and that's what really impressed me. Exactly, the thing that you've mentioned, because for me it's also very limiting when the human nature just it's a very binary way of thinking. As you said, it's either black and white, or it's either left or right. And for me, this is just the way I perceive things. This is very limiting to who we are and what we can be as well. And it's a problem that I encounter and I notice quite a lot in the way that modern human society operates. So when I saw that you were mentioning this topic and you're bringing white to it, that really, I felt really related to that. So that's why I was very curious to hear, what was the thing, whether there was a specific thing that made you think and made you want to express your thoughts on this specific topic, and what made you motivated to actually use this as a missive for your new music?
Yeah, and we really do try to have take from our own personal firsthand accounts, our experiences of things. So you actually know what you're talking about because you've been through something that's moved you, that's changed you. So like a big line that I feel like you're saying, and I was kind of referencing, is like, looking at the world with one eye closed, and you're expecting that it's like, yeah, this is the whole world, but you're missing this whole picture, this whole side of things. And that's not fair. That's not a proper perspective or interpretation.
Absolutely.
So I feel like, yeah, it's like when we wake up and we use both of our eyes and we just listen and be open to everything, then it's like, that's how you can truly have an experience.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately not that, many people nowadays understand the importance of at least trying to be objective. I guess it's very difficult to not be subjective when it comes to the human beings, but it's just baffling to me how everyone is feeling comfort in just being, inside their own head and just not really being interested to perceive things from different perspectives, as you've mentioned. So I think your music,
you're right,
message in such a great way.
No, I appreciate that. That's the goal. And, even us in the band, we don't all think the same thing. We listen to each other, we argue, we debate. And at the end of the day, we all respect each other. And it's like, okay, I can understand that. Like, I don't totally agree with your point, but I get it. And that's what it is. It's like, man, for somebody to tell you that you're experiences are false and the conclusion that you've arrived at is like idiocy or ridiculous, it's really, really sad, and that's really immature. So it's like, this is whatever it may be, okay, this is where they've arrived. Okay, if I went through those experiences, I'd be at the same place. So yeah, it's just really immature for like you're saying, a lot of people in the world to just like, nope, this is it.
Yeah.
This is all I have. This is my little world and I'm right.
Yes. Yes. The thing that baffles me really is that, for me, if, as you've mentioned, if someone, if I'm in dialogue with someone and he says something or they say something that I don't agree with, I'll be like, all right, I don't agree with that, but I respect it as a matter of, as a matter of opinion. But it seems that most people are just negatively perceiving any sort of a thought that they can't relate to. And, this is, as you've mentioned, such an instinctive part of the human consciousness. If I don't understand something, I automatically just defect it. Which I think it's something that it's such a great topic about the human nature that to bring some focus on, I guess.
Yeah, you're totally right, and I couldn't agree more. It's, as you were saying that, I was just reminded that it's like real truth doesn't need defending. It's like,
yes,
you don't have to, like, why?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, because people personify it and it's like, it is completely who I am, everything about this. And it's like, but it's not. It's okay. It's okay.
It doesn't need to be justified or reasoned. It's just, it is how it is, and as you said, it's just fine. And
that's okay, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what really impressed me in an interview that I saw you guys did a while ago, where you said that everyone in the band has different opinions, and that probably if someone asks you guys separately about a topic related to the band, you would all say different things. But I mean, I'm interested to hear how how you establish this synergy between yourselves in terms of respecting each other's points of views and using this as an actual, I would say, maybe motivation to create and finding like a creative source out of it. Because for
Yeah.
me, from my perspective, this requires a lot of effort, a lot of emotional investment in just putting yourself in other people's shoes. And not that many people are open to this process. So I'm curious how you devise that.
You're right. That's very true. And at times it can be very difficult, for one of us to try and convince everyone else that this concept that I have, I am really passionate about it. And I know you guys aren't feeling it right now, but I need you to trust me. Like, let's just go down, this ride and let's see where it leads. If it's a bad ride, okay, that's all right. Then we won't do it, or we'll try it a different way. In certain regards, it's like, obviously Johnny lost his mom to cancer. Fortunately, my mother is still living. And I don't fully know what that's like. But as a friend and knowing his mom and being there with him through all of that, I can be empathetic to the situation. And I know that this situation has happened to so many people. And that's what's beautiful about music, is you can find a tragedy and you can find greatness in that, in regards to connecting with other people and relating to them, to let them know that they're not alone. So, songs like God Went North and Jenny, those are much more right from Johnny's perspective. And Dan and myself really kind of put ourselves in his shoes and ask those questions like, what would you say to your mom? If she's going through this terminal illness, and, if you crying out to God, if you can't save her, well, just take her. And that's like, that's such a pinnacle emotional line.
Yes.
That's true. So many people have been there, and it's so sad. It's so hard. And me personally, songs like Fade In, Fade Out, I'm the only father in the band. And this idea came to me when my son was in utero, and we just, my wife and myself decided to give him the name Phoenix. And the idea just kind of came to me, the passing of the torch, the story of the Phoenix, and how cyclical that is for, from father to son, grandfather to father to son, and how it continues. And I only had the fade in, fade out idea of just the father to son thing. And then I went and visited my parents, and I just kind of had that moment of like, oh man, my dad's old now. It's like he doesn't have those dad muscles that he always had his entire life.
Yes.
And the song clicked to me. And then I finally decided, all right, maybe this is a Nothing More song. And really got together with the guys and pitched my idea and pitched this, some of the music that I had for everything. It needed a lot of work, and it was kind of a crappy demo, but they, Ben and Dan jumped on with me. It was kind of hard to convince Johnny. I understand what it's like to sing about something that's, not necessarily your story. And sure, how that can be a little more difficult, but he finally was able to find his own place in that story and kind of understand it and jump on board my story, and get it out, to the world, and realize that, that song is a lot of people's favorite song, Fade In, Fade Out, and they can relate to it. I just really told a bunch of stuff and talked for a really long time. I appreciate you listening and being patient with me, Aristo.
I'm all about for this sort of conversations, honestly, and that's why I'm really interested in doing this sort of project. And I'm really interested in, always very interested to talk with you guys, because, I met you a couple of years ago, and, I had the chance to talk with Johnny for quite a while, and we even shared some sort of,
Nice.
Similar experiences in terms of what he experienced with his mother at the time. I was experiencing the same thing, literally with the same sort of complexity when you were in a room where, you hear one of your closest family members just screaming out of pain. at the same time you're just asking for them to be taken, so the agony is finished, and just put your mind at such a, I don't know, I can't even describe the complexity of the emotion there. um
Yeah.
and yeah, what really fascinates me with you guys is that it seems that you managed to so well portray your emotions in such a moving way. And um, I'm interested to hear whether, again, would you say this is a skill, a quality that you trained, something that you aim to do, or is it just a pure sheer talent that you possess?
That's a great question. And thank you for the kind words. I'm not entirely sure of how to answer that. I do believe, storytelling and songwriting are similar, and just even conversing, myself and yourself right now, it's like you learn how to talk to people, and you learn how to get through to people, but also just being honest and realizing that honesty cuts through, and you really get to the source of what people are going through, and how, once again, how powerful it is to know that you're not alone in something. It can be really difficult. It's like if you don't have some sort of outlet or some sort of something that you can connect with. And that's a big thing. So I don't know if it's a talent or if it's just I don't know, just something that we've gotten better with over time, but just being honest and transparent about those experiences and those stories it's a big deal. So yeah, I hope that sheds some light on your question.
Oh, definitely. And another thing that always fascinated me with your career, and this is something that Johnny mentioned to me when we talked as well, is the fact that maybe I'm not right with the numbers, but that you needed like 12 to 15 years playing in front of, in small clubs before getting signed and breaking out and achieving the level of success that you have at the moment, and I've always been, interested in the process of sustaining your motivation and sustaining your passion to do what you do throughout such a big period of time, and I'm curious to hear from your perspective, what is music for you, and what helped you to keep yourself motivated and determined to do what you do, despite probably all the setbacks that you achieved throughout the years?
Awesome. Yeah, you were talking about how important it was to kind of go through that long period of not being signed or not having any sort of big money or power or reach behind us. And yeah, that was all necessary. We had to go through all of those things in order to get better at our songwriting, get better at our instrumental skills, and to get better at our live show. Realize that when people don't know your songs, how are you going to win them over? We needed all of that time to be able to do that. And I think there was a second part of your question. If you can help me remember what that was.
Yeah, so basically I was asking that, many artists and bands nowadays, once they, met with some sort of setbacks, they, discourage themselves, and they just, leave their dream and, just cancel their plans for success in music. So I was just interested to hear whether you've experienced such setbacks and what helped you to overcome them ultimately.
Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, we have definitely been through many obstacles and many tribulations. From going through 5 different singers before Johnny took up the mic, and supporting him through that process, because it was not pretty at first. And those things take time. But we didn't give up. We did pursue. His first show singing was out in the Key Club in LA, and we had won the Ernie Ball Band's Warped Tour Battle of the Bands, and so they flew us out there to go play. And his first show was singing behind the drum kit, and the show was bad. It went really awfully, so bad, in fact, that our other guitar player at the time, we used to be a 2-guitar player band, and he quit. He just couldn't handle it anymore, and he wanted to just go work for his dad.
Wow.
So he gave up the dream, and we're still friends with him and everything, and we totally understand. He did what he had to do. And I think the biggest hurdle I personally went through was becoming a father, and how difficult that was, and the support I needed from my wife, and really her holding down the fort while we were making chump change, or literally no money. She was making all the money and helping, paying all the bills. And that is this new challenge and this new question for the rest of the guys, like, oh man, is Mark going to be able to do this? And we really assured them, verbally and through our actions and everything, that it's like, I still believe in this, and I still know that we can do this. And the years went on, and yeah, we absolutely met the right people we needed to have on our team. Felt good about the label that we're with, and getting our music to the masses, and things went, they really went the best they could, honestly. And so I guess what I'm getting at is like this philosophical cosmic justice sort of thing of everything happens for a reason. We needed to go through all of that heartache. Here's to the heartache that song is about a lot of that. You need the crap, you need the shit, because you wouldn't make it, to the other side.
That's amazing. And you touched on a perspective that is very interesting for me as well, because not many musicians, I guess, and people in the industry talk about the problem of just dealing with the expectations from the society, and the problem of just questioning yourself when you have a family and when you have people depending on you. And I don't know if if this relates to you as well, but I guess it's normal to question yourself, to think whether this would be possible, whether it would be a good idea to, change something. And, because it's easy to be passionate and to be determined to be a rock star when you are 19 years old, but when you're older and, life moves and more people depend on you, I guess this is a really big challenge. And it's interesting to hear your point of view from, on this matter.
You're absolutely right. You need the doubt, because otherwise, just like you're saying, it's like, well, it's easy to do if it's like, oh man, all your bills are paid for, you don't have anything to worry about, you don't have to have another job to be able to do this at the same time, or you don't have a wife or children to provide for either. But it's like going through those things and working through, seeing how you do that is almost like a test, that you have to go through in order to that is like, are you worthy? Are you worthy of the title or whatever it is? And that's exactly what we had to go through. And we wouldn't have been there without the support of our loved ones,
I guess this is a really good way to put it. I mean, after you overcome the challenges, I guess you can really understand the level of your commitment and passion to everything that you do, which objectively seems as a good thing to perceive in one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So, you've mentioned obviously bad and awful experience in your words that you had as a group that helped you to become stronger, to evolve. And this is a question that I really like to, to talk about with successful musicians of any sort. Do you have a specific moment in mind when, like the energy of the moment was so strong and that made you understand that you are succeeding in what you want to achieve? Like, is there a specific moment when you said to yourself, well, I've done it, everything that I've dreamed of, it's happening right now, and I couldn't be happier,
Yeah, I think so. There have been several of those particular moments, of those milestones along the way. But I remember getting a call. We were in Poland, I think, in the end of 2017, getting a call. And, my mom's crying, or just realizing that it's like we had just been nominated for 3 Grammys. And that moment, we were kind of halfway out of it because it was the beginning of the morning over there for us. And, it's a different time in the States. And having that moment, having it be so special for my parents, my personal family, friends you haven't talked to forever. And it's like, it is kind of like a coming of age type of achievement to be Grammy nominated. These songs that you believe in, that you think that they're the best songs in the world or whatever, this song's gonna be so special. And then to have, this worldwide, group like give you that title, nominate you, is amazing. That headlining certain shows, just even in our hometown, or being at festivals overseas and playing Budokan in Japan. All of these little moments kind of add up. And when you take a step back, you have to remind yourself to do that. You really can soak it in and be grateful and just, wow, like, we did it. I did it. This is, and I'm living it. And now the name of the game is enjoy it. It's, you're not necessarily working to quote unquote make it. It's just, you're just living your life and enjoying every aspect of it. And I don't know, I'm very grateful for everything that's happened, and very stoked to continue the journey and kind of see what's next.
That's amazing. And do you feel, do you experience any sort of challenges when it comes to motivating yourself to keep creating music and do what you do? Because, obviously when you're an up and coming band and you have this goal in front of you, and you know what you want to achieve, and you know what you need to do, and obviously you're fully motivated to do so. But I guess it gets difficult to, once you achieve everything that you want to achieve, then what's next? What's the power behind your actions? And I'm interested to hear what's the thought process with you on that.
Right. I'd say fortunately with me, sometimes inspiration will come at a certain time, and I need to kind of stop what I'm doing and focus on that and kind of like see it through, whether it be a lyric or a song instrumentally. But a lot of the times I find that if I just sit down and give myself an hour and say I'm gonna write, then I'm gonna write. I don't know, that's been my process. And I guess I'm not afraid, knock on wood, of running out of ideas. Or I don't know, you just got to keep going and keep growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. So as long as I'm playing and kind of continuing this journey of songwriting, more ideas will pop up, whether it is for nothing more, or I don't know, whatever is next in the future, after this or whatever.
So another thing that I'm interested to hear, you've mentioned inspiration and, just finding ways to create. What usually would you say is the thing or the activity that inspires you the most? Is it music? Is it, literature, movies, family? Why, have you noticed a certain pattern or tendency in terms of things that, make you motivated to create?
Yeah, I was just saying, I think it's the same for everybody. you see a good show or a movie or read a good book, and there's something that pops out at you, and it's like, oh wow, that's a line. I better write this down, or it's like, think about doing some more research on this concept. So I feel like all four of us in the band are kind of moved by those things, something we see or hear, from other bands, or, even lecturers like Alan Watts or other philosophers. We're just kind of constantly excited to kind of keep learning from all of that stuff.
I mean, I'm very curious about that as well. And honestly, I've tried to research what sort of books and authors and, philosophers are motivating you in one way or another. But, I've always failed to find some sort of information about that. So I would love for you to tell me, like, if you have favorite authors, favorite books, any sort of artists in general that have influenced you in one way or another.
Yeah, with other philosophers or spiritual teachers. Like I'm a big I'm blanking on his name right now. Writes The Power of Now.
Yeah.
I can't even. Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. He's amazing. And actually, on this current record on Spirits, there's a lot of his concepts, which even he'll tell you they aren't his concepts. That is something that everybody has the ability to tap into, and realizing you are not your problem, you are not your pain, and separating yourself from that, not living in the past or living in the future, but just being and being in now. And when you realize that, and you can kind of detach from what's going on, it's life changing, and it's so helpful, to do that often, and try and get into that meditative state, to not, to pull yourself out of the anxieties and stress of the world. That guy's awesome. I love the book The Giver, and I'm blanking on her name. That author, Brene Brown's awesome. My wife got me into some of her books. I'm reading this book right now about empaths and being empathic. That's really interesting, and has sparked a lot of curiosity, just to kind of continue learning. And just it's kind of going into like concepts of like finding there are different levels of empaths, basically people that are just that aware and sensitive to sensing auras and other people's feelings, just to where they're at, and maybe why the world is overwhelming to them, or why they can sense this uneasiness in a room, and kind of how on point that often is. That's really interesting to me. I consider myself an empathetic person. I wouldn't say like super aware or anything, but all that stuff's exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, the whole the whole so-called personal development sphere is very interesting to me as well, considering that I think it's and I would be curious to hear whether this applies to you as well. But obviously, personally, I'm in a state that I acknowledge the need to modify some of my instincts in terms of perceiving the world around me and just controlling my emotions and just understanding what's happening in my brain objectively. So would you say like these are topics that apply to you, and would you say that you understand the importance of actually working on yourself and just appreciating and understanding the way that you think?
Absolutely. And I feel like I can speak for everyone in the band. That we all kind of go through things, and it's like you can only, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing expecting a different result. And that's a big thing in life, to for you to welcome change and be open to change when something doesn't work or a way of thinking is obsolete. You have to morph, and you have to figure out a way around it to continue your life and continue growing and learning and all of those things. I definitely say we're all big advocates of working on ourselves and sharpening ourselves, and that probably has to do with how we grew up. That is a great aspect of Christianity, I would say. I don't align myself with a lot of that anymore, but I think there are some core values and some key elements that it taught in all of our kind of upbringings, that working on yourself is important. A better you, if you want to change the world, change yourself. Gandhi said it best, and we all want a better world, and we all hate running into somebody that's just a dick or rude or inconsiderate. So don't be that person. That's really important to us.
It's such a, sometimes it's very I would say relieving for me to speak with like-minded individuals such as yourself, because I also see this as such a big problem, because people nowadays are so self-centered and sort of entitled, but at the same time, no one really wants to take responsibility for the way that they affect the people around them and the impact that they have on society or on the world in general, and it's great to hear that, there are people that sort of share my point of view on that, because I think that's very important, especially nowadays.
You're totally right, and it is sad to have those people in your life that you just you don't get it, and it's just baffling that they can be so selfish and so inconsiderate. But I have to remind myself often that it's like, man, I can't change them. I don't have control over them. And I need to stop letting that affect me. People are going to be people, and sometimes that happens. I have my own problems for sure too, to where I can be selfish and self-centered, and I'm no better, So I completely hear you there.
Yeah, I guess the important thing is to actually self-assess that and understand this, rather than just being negligent towards it, which is, I guess, the problem with many people, without wanting to sound pretentious or expressing myself as better than anyone, but as an observation, that seems to be the case.
That's well said. Yeah, you're totally right.
Thank you. Tell me, outside of music, I guess it's a very trivial and banal question, but still, what do you like doing? How do you prefer spending your free time? Not music related, obviously. I'm just curious to hear about your hobbies, your preferences, and yeah.
It always goes back to family and friends for me, and doing things together to where you feel that energy, that magic in the room of what it feels good to be alive and be loved and to love. And whatever those hobbies be. I'm a big video game advocator. I love story games. I love playing video games with my son. My wife and I love watching, scary movies or movies that make you think. All of those things. It's, yeah, soaking up that time is priceless. You don't get it back, and we're only getting older. So that's what I would say is my number one thing. I love just experiencing life and adventure with my family and friends.
Amazing. And I'll just slip one very quick final question, considering yesterday was Halloween as well. What are your top 3 horror movies?
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, some people wouldn't consider this a horror movie, but it's definitely in my top 5 movies. It's more of a thriller, kind of a mystery one, but I love the movie Donnie Darko.
Yes. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, that one's awesome. I love the movie. I really like Babadook, the Australian film.
Yes.
And then I know this is a series, but my wife and I are watching The Haunting of Hill House right now, and it's really, really good. It's like our 3rd time through it again, and it's just so well done. It really sucks you into the story, and you fall in love with the characters. I really, really like it. I know it's not a movie, but
it's amazing. Yeah,
it's really good.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, it's great. If I knew, I would have my top 3 horror movies.
Yeah.
I have to go with The Exorcist.
Sure.
I love Scream as well. Big fan of Scream. And third, let me see, third horror movie that I really, really like. I have to go with Jaws, I guess. Just a classic one, you know. But I watched so many. I absolutely love the horror genre as well. And if I knew that, we share some interest in that, I would have definitely spent some more time on this topic. But hopefully another time we'll have the opportunity to do so. Honestly.
Of course, yeah. It's fun. Those are some good titles.
Definitely. All right, I really don't want to keep you more time. I know you have things to do, so I don't want to, waste any more of your time. But I genuinely want to thank you for taking the time and just for sharing such amazing details and, thoughts about everything that we've discussed. And, I massively appreciate it. And I honestly hope that we'll have the opportunity to talk sometime again.
Yeah, I hope so as well. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for having me, Aristo.
Thank you, absolutely.
And I hope, I hope we see you soon.
Definitely.
Hope we can play some shows.
I would love to. Honestly, your show, like the last time I saw you guys, was, without any exaggeration, probably like one of my top 3 shows ever. So I'm so looking forward to seeing you guys live again. So yeah.
Too kind. I really appreciate that.
Of course. Okay. Thank you so much again. Have a nice day, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.
No problem. Yeah, you too.
Awesome.
Much love, Aristo.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See ya.
Awesome. Yeah.